Thousands of matriculants who are currently writing their final exams have been cautioned to be vigilant and avoid falling into the trap of registering to further their studies at bogus and unregistered institutions of higher learning. The Education Department has issued the warning in anticipation of fake colleges who will soon be promising desperate and unsuspecting matriculants a brighter future when they recruit them. The department is warning students to ensure that they do due diligence and research on their institutions of choice after Matric. So for more on this, we are joined by the Director of Registrations at the Department of Higher Education, Dr. Shaheeda Essack. Thank you, Dr. Essack. Great to have you on the program.
Good morning, Leanne, and thanks for inviting the department at this very difficult time.
Yeah.
Do you want me to get straight into it?
Well, certainly, and I suppose maybe let me just begin by asking, how prevalent is this? Because, it is that time of the year. We've got students that are working very, very hard to ensure that they get a good mark and then realize, wow, I want to actually study afterwards. And then all of a sudden, these higher institutions start popping up and offering amazing deals and things. So let's talk about this now. How common is it that these institutions come about?
Okay, so Leanne, I've been on SABC before, and we've been on this public awareness campaign and other platforms. So the problem of bogus colleges is not as bad as it used to be. It was a huge problem in the past. It is not as bad, but students still need to be vigilant at different levels. And the best advice we can give them is ask them to verify with the department by consulting the registers, which are on the website. So there are two registers, private higher, private colleges. And in addition to that, they need to check with the different theatres and the QCTO, which is the Quality Council for Trades and Occupations. Now, if they cannot access the website, we do have a toll-free number. And the toll-free number is on the Matric certificate, that is, or the results of Matric, the Matric results released to students at the end of each year. We do have the department's contact details there as well.
Mm. When you say that it's not as bad or it is better, I mean, that sort of is we need a little bit more facts on that in terms of how much better the situation is, because when you sort of look in and you read people's stories, and I know the SABC also did a bit of an expose on it, talking about some of these institutions, it still appears to be something that's very, very rife within in society. But you're saying it's better, so perhaps give us a bit more.
Okay, so on the the big problem we encountered was the bogus colleges in the city center. So let me give you an example. If you take Braamfontein, it was lined up with a whole range of bogus colleges. Once upon a time, we did clean that up. But what these guys do, they will set up shop elsewhere. So we monitor their movements and their modus operandi. And we do have them on our radar, and we do wait for the evidence before we can go with the police to shut them down. So on that front, we've been successful. Where we still need to focus is on the online provision of illegal qualifications. That is a huge problem, and that is difficult to pin down. Then we have the private nursing colleges, private colleges that pass themselves off as nursing institutions. That is a problem. And the same would apply to the private police colleges. So it is there, and we act on all of the complaints that come to the department. And what we have discovered recently is that the online provisioning is still a challenge. That hasn't gone away.
Yeah.
So you find like a private college offering so-called foreign qualifications, and they tend to offer it online. And so this is where we ask students to be vigilant. So yes, you are correct. The problem is there. It is not as bad as it used to be because the awareness is so great, but it is there. And as our role in regulating the sector, we are always on the lookout, on the watch.
Yeah, yeah. I would certainly imagine that needs to be done because, I mean, people are losing their money. So let's go into the details of what people should be looking for, because obviously there are signs that this is a bogus institution and that you need to look for those. So what should we do? Obviously, the first thing is take the name, search it on the website, because I know you have a database that is written there. If you don't find their name, then don't even bother, because then they don't exist. That is, I suppose, the best information we can give out. But there are many other signs to look for. What do you suggest people do?
As a first step, they need to look at the infrastructure. Now, often the infrastructure is a giveaway. If the college lacks the basic organization, the basic administration, the basic level of professionalism at every level, then students need to ask the difficult questions. What is going on? And they need to speak to other students, and they need to ask the college to refer them to past students, to alumni, so they can get a better sense of what it is the college offers. Those students who can go onto the website can go onto Hello Peter. Hello Peter gives lots of useful information on how different colleges perform, and that's a useful source of information. Then they need to look at the literature or the prospectus, the advertising, and they need to look at it critically, and they need to be able to differentiate the fact from the fiction. And they need to research widely, to not be afraid to talk to anyone and everyone. And having said all of this, what we discovered over the years is that many of the private colleges have actually revamped their operations, and they have aspired to meet the standards we have set and we are setting. So that's one of the useful benefits of the campaign and of the monitoring interventions that we have made. Yeah,
yeah. Which is vital, but I mean, some of these places still get away with this. I'm trying to find out here. I mean, I'm trying to dig into the story, because funny enough, I actually saw it last night as a flash on my screen. It was Dr. Sean Mkhize, and that was a title that she was using. Then it was sort of a story that came out saying that this was conferred as an honorary doctorate in philosophy, and it was from an institute called the Good Shepherd College of Religion, Culture and Training. Then Dr. Bladen Zimande said, no, but this is one of those bogus institutions. But it looks like it's still operating. Help me understand this. I mean, how does something like that happen?
The laws in our country on the registration of private colleges is quite strict. So how these things still happen boggles me, especially at the local level. I can understand the online providers from outside the country and inside the country, but the local contact-to-contact teaching that happens at some of the colleges, and in this particular case, I don't know how they took a chance and they did what they did, but it is currently being investigated, and we are dealing with the issue. So as these cases
so let me just
come
ask
to
you,
the department,
sorry for interrupting, I'm just going to elaborate on that. So it's currently being investigated, but it's still operating. So we still don't know if it's a real or a bogus institution. I mean, I'm just using that as an example because it actually just jumped into my mind before this interview.
Okay. So insofar as it offers higher education programs without registration with the department, or any other qualification without accreditation and registration with the relevant authority, it would be a bogus college. So on our records, it is a bogus college. That is how we would look at it. Yeah. But the investigation is a process, and it takes a while to conclude. And finally, the relevant law enforcement agents will then have to handle the case.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big worry. It really is a big worry that if you've got an institution like this that's still operating, that's being investigated, it's taking students' money, and they walk out with who knows if this is a real thing. So it is a concern. And how are they getting away with it? I mean, when we have a department in charge of this, surely this should be just deemed illegal, and these places should be shut down with knowing that they are not legal.
It is deemed illegal, and it is not operating well. If it is operating still currently, it's a matter of time before the law enforcement agents will have to take this case on and then deal with it appropriately.
Yeah.
But it does not have the license to operate as a private higher education institution.
Yeah.
That is a fact, and that is what we know. It is worrying, but the investigation itself is a process. And we did issue them with a letter of warning, and we expected them to terminate all the operations. And we are currently in that phase where we are waiting for them to respond. Because we have to go the legal route as well.
Does anybody have, I mean, if I go and register into a so-called bogus institution and I pay them money, and then I find out that, goodness me, this degree means nothing, or this diploma means nothing, do I have any recourse as a person who's fallen victim to this?
Yes, you do. As a first step, we expect students to bring this to the attention of the department. And then the student would have to file a case with SABC and take it forward from there. And if the fees paid are in the region of plus minus 20,000, they can go to the small claims court and claim for a refund. Otherwise, they'd have to speak to an attorney.
But I imagine that, I mean, those places, and especially those that are online, and you go and register and pay money, and this turns into something that actually, when you come into the new year, you're ready to study, and this institution doesn't even exist, and you've gone and paid money to them. Your chances of recovering that are not very good, are they?
It's very slim. In fact, very few students do recover the money. And that is why we say to students, they need to check with us as a first step. And we have a massive public awareness campaign, because that is where we need to get to students. The department is not the only body that provides information. So let me just very quickly explain, and I think this is important. The South African Nursing Council also provides information on legitimate and illegitimate providers. And then we have the South African Qualifications Authority, that plays a huge role in verifying the credentials of online providers. So yes, students they need to be aware. That's the first step. And then if they have become victims, they need to come to us so we can work on the way forward. And many of our attempts at shutting down private colleges has been great. There are those in the system that are still under investigation. And at the right time, it will be shut down as soon as we conclude our own process internally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is very important, and I imagine a message as well is to those that, indeed, and these articles that are coming up are talking to a lot of these institutions, honoring celebrities and people that may be in the public eye. They give them these so-called honorary doctorates, which are then obviously makes them look like a legitimate institution. But I suppose it's also up to that individual to say, well, I'm not going to accept it, A, and B, you can't quite be using it with your name, because that just enhances people to go and enroll there thinking this is a legitimate institution, which is very, very worrying. I mean, surely the department, and again, I ask the department, should you not be harder on this and people and individuals that use these institutions and advertise incorrectly?
Yeah, and it's very strange. It's like an irony. You are asking me a question, shouldn't we be harder? But we get accused of being extremely hard. The criticism we receive is that we are being too hard and too harsh, and we are not being developmental and supportive, etc., etc. So yes, we deal with it as per the legislation and the processes and the frameworks from within the department. And we do have a developmental approach because many providers falling outside of the system have now come on board. So yes, it depends on who controls the narrative, etc. There are many who argue that we are very hard, but we need to be hard. And there are some who argue that we are not hard enough. So
right.
it's a difficult balancing act.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Well, let's leave it there for this morning. Thanks so much for talking to us and putting the word out there, because it is real, it is happening, that there are bogus institutions that are taking your money. You're thinking you're going to come out with these degrees and they turn out to be nothing that they say they are, and the paper is probably worth more than what's written on it. The Director of Registrations at the Department of Higher Education, Dr. Shaheeda Essack, talking to us about this. So go and visit the department's website. It's very easy. Go onto their website. There is a search engine there where you can look and see if this institution is registered officially with them. If not, walk away.